From the southeastern corner of western North Carolina, this is Folklore. I'm your host, James Hernishin. This was not an easy episode to produce. Not because my guest was unprepared, she was anything but. Not because of technical difficulties. We recorded it in a quiet office without interruption, and all my podcasting equipment did what it was designed to do. It was tricky because the one big idea that sits at the heart of this conversation is just so big. It's so big, I'm still having trouble getting my head around it. What we're talking about is, who are we as a community? What are our core values? How far are we willing to go, and how far short of that goal are we willing to accept when it comes to making our little piece of the planet a decent place to live? Thermal Belt Outreach goes back some 35 years. It started as what is sometimes called a food bank, a place people who can't afford to feed themselves and their families can turn to for help. Over the years, it expanded into building and renting affordable housing. Because food and shelter all come down to money, and for far too many otherwise normal, hard-working, decent people, sometimes you have to choose between paying the rent and shopping for groceries. No one should have to do that. I don't know how we got here. 1 out of every 8 Americans makes use of the federal government's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It used to be called food stamps, but now the assistance is distributed by debit cards, and we call it SNAP. 1 out of 8. Let that sink in for a minute. Here in Polk County, things aren't quite as bad at just 1 in 9. That's still awful, but it's much worse in some places. Next door in Rutherford County, for example, it's about 1 in 5. Why do we, the richest country in the history of the world, accept such a shameful state of affairs? That's not really a fair question to ask someone responsible for running a nonprofit devoted to making up for at least part of the shortcomings of modern American civilization. Outreach Director Margot Carter has to remain politically neutral for a very good reason. Outreach doesn't accept any government funding, so she doesn't have to worry about making the president angry. But that doesn't mean she can afford to get on the wrong side of a political divide among the donors and volunteers and community leaders that make it possible for Outreach to feed and house as many as it does. And that political divide is as wide as it's ever been. While we were recording this episode, Congress was preparing to bring the longest federal government shutdown in history to an end. A shutdown that started because one political party wants to keep health insurance premiums at least somewhat affordable and the other party doesn't. You all know which party is pushing which position. And although federal law explicitly allows the government to use congressionally approved contingency funds to load up SNAP debit cards during a shutdown, the Trump administration refused to do that. Instead, it's been appealing court orders to make it follow the law, and it could take weeks for things to get back to normal. So no, not an easy topic. Still, I think we did a good job of exploring that one big idea in our talk, which we recorded at the outreach offices in Columbus on the last day of the shutdown. Margot Carter, welcome to Folklore.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I know it's a really busy time for you. Not that it probably isn't always a busy time at Outreach, but the last 40 days or so have been a little bit interesting when it comes to government-funded support programs for people. So give me the story of Outreach.
Outreach was started almost 35 years ago in the basement of a church in Columbus. It was a group of churches who got together to feed Polk County neighbors in need. And from there, it grew into the organization. Over the years, it's grown into the organization that we are today, which is we focus on food and shelter for Polk County neighbors in need or in crisis. From a food perspective, our food pantry remains our backbone, and we offer a client choice food pantry, and by that I mean we're set up like a grocery store, like a small food market. So when people come here to shop, they get to choose the foods that that they like, that their family enjoys. They get a grocery cart, they walk around the aisles, and they actually, they do select the foods off the shelves that their families like to eat. We have everything from shelf-stable canned foods to breads, to meats, fresh fruits and vegetables, dairy products, all the things that you need to make. You should walk out of here with 21 to 24 meals that are scalable based on the size of your family. We also partner with the Senior Center and our local Meals on Wheels program, and send special food package to homebound seniors every month. That the purpose of that food package is to get the message out to homebound seniors. That outreach is there for them as well. So even if they can't get to us, we want them to know that we're here and that we'll be able to help them as well. And we send packages of food home with Polk County students that are identified by their teachers or counselors who may need food support over the weekend. So from a food perspective, those are our primary food programs. And then on the shelter side, we offer financial assistance for people who may need help paying rent or a utility bill. We have a home repair program, several different home repair programs depending on different needs. And most recently, we're developing a portion of our property and building supportive and affordable housing. That neighborhood is called Horse Creek Village. We currently have 10 homes in our neighborhood. 2 of those homes are under construction and almost completed. And ultimately, we will have 21 homes in the neighborhood.
So I assume you would get funding from a variety of sources, right?
Yes.
Where does most of the funding come from?
So we are 100% privately funded. So outreach is truly, I say it all the time, it's an organization of neighbors helping neighbors, community helping community. We are truly all of Polk County. We're more than the folks that are just within these walls. It's individuals within our county. It's people who grew up here and have moved away, and they want to continue to support their community. Churches are a tremendous supporter, local businesses. Our local community foundation, Polk County Community Foundation, is such a tremendous supporter. But then Dogwood Health and the Community Foundation of West North Carolina, Gateway Health, just so many, Gateway Foundation. There's just so many foundations that are so supportive of our organization.
Right, so in other words, this is not a government charity.
We do not receive any government funding.
That brings me to first real question I wanted to talk about, and that is the fact that the government shutdown for the past 6 weeks has forced people to turn to organizations like outreach, perhaps a little bit more than they would in the past, with the SNAP benefits being basically frozen out. So what has changed for outreach in terms of the people who rely on you in the last few weeks?
So the suspension of the SNAP program is just scary. It affects so many people. It affects people we all know. And if it doesn't frighten you, in my opinion, it should. And from an outreach perspective, it's increased the number of folks that we see on a daily basis. There are nearly 1,000 households in Polk County that are on the SNAP program. And that could potentially almost triple the number of people that we see on a monthly basis. So as a result, just thinking about the prospect of this in October, as that was looming, I started thinking about how outreach could potentially support these additional families, and developed a program called 21 Meals. That's what we are currently executing here at Outreach now. So I talked a minute about our Client Choice Food Pantry, and we have paused that, our typical business as usual food process, and have moved to 21 Meals. So that is a drive-through food process so that we can help more people. It's 7 breakfasts, 7 lunches, 7 dinners per week per household. And again, it's scalable for the size of your family. So if you're a family of 2, the amount of food for those breakfast, lunches, and dinners would be suitable for your household. If you're a family of 7, the amount of food that you would receive for those meals would be suitable for your household. And we just make it easy for folks to come through and pick those meals up.
The folks who take advantage of Outreach's programs, describe them.
Well, the majority of them are, they're working hard, and they don't want to be here. Let's face it, my door, the Outreach door is not an easy door to walk through. When you come here, you're not having a good day, and we understand that, and we have to we always have a smile on our face and need to treat everybody who comes here with kindness, because you're not having the best day when you're here. And the people who come here, it's just, nobody wants to be here. People want to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and want to be able to support themselves and their families. And it's hard to come here. Almost 45% of our regular clients are senior citizens. Then many others are disabled. We have numerous clients who are working but are just having trouble making ends meet. So they come here for additional food and the occasional financial assistance. Many working moms come to see us, and it really is a very small percentage, less than 5% of people who just are not employed, but a large percentage are either are working or retired, or who are disabled.
Well, it seems to me that if only 5% of the Outreach's clientele are unemployed, I mean, that's a pretty good number. I mean, because you're always going to have at least 3 or 4% of the population who are between jobs, right?
Right.
So people need to get over this notion that somehow the folks who turn to public charitable organizations are there for out of their own choice.
No, I agree. A lot of people who visit don't want to take too much. They'll shop in our food pantry, and they're worried about, taking too much, or coming here at all, because they don't want to take something from somebody who may need it more. And they're actually in a pretty dire situation themselves. So we encourage them to come. They need the help, and we want to be here for those in our community who can really use the assistance.
Do you notice any kind of trends in, I mean, who is turning to the pantry that didn't used to before?
Yes, we see everybody. We see just, it's really the same people that we're seeing.
But okay, I ask you this because I walked past the Saluda food pantry on Tuesdays is when they do their work. And last week I just asked casually if they noticed any differences. And they said, well, slight uptick, but the most noticeable difference was it was skewing to younger people than they had seen before. That was one thing that they had noticed.
So here, I guess I haven't really noticed a difference in the demographics of the folks that we are seeing. I've just noticed more. Like, we definitely have served more people over the last week and a half. Senior citizens, single moms, people. A lot of the people that we serve at outreach every day are people who work. A lot of SNAP folks that use the SNAP program are people who work, but their incomes just aren't enough to make ends meet, and so these additional food benefits are so beneficial for their families and to feed children.
Do you having any challenges meeting the demand? Like, you have the capacity to respond to the change?
So I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this is definitely pushing our limits. Our staff, our volunteers. I have to say, we have over 80 volunteers that come to outreach on a weekly basis, and they are so committed and so dedicated. We could not carry out our mission without these incredible volunteers, and they are here. Our staff and our volunteers have really been here 7 days a week for the last 2 weeks, different ones, to help us prepare. It is a lot more work, and it's a lot more expense to execute this 21 meals program. But we're doing what we can, and we feel like it is important to make sure that everybody has food on their tables during this challenging time.
So you just get the sense that Polk County as a community has kind of risen to the challenge?
As Polk County always does. I have been with outreach for almost 10 years, and through COVID, through Hurricane Helene, and now through a government shutdown and SNAP suspension. And every time this community comes together, looks out for its own, it's really an incredible thing to witness and to watch happen. It is amazing.
Well, I know when Saluda started its food pantry a few years ago, I volunteered at it when it first started going. I was really surprised by the number of people, though. I mean, it just hadn't occurred to me that there would be that many folks who were having trouble putting food on the table. That was part of my own naive understanding of the community. I'm curious as to know whether or not other folks have been similarly enlightened.
I have to agree with you. I think that in some ways, the poverty in Polk County is hidden unless you are looking for it. You don't necessarily know about it, and unless you're part of the school system, or unless you work at outreach, or our Department of Social Services, or other places, health department. And in some places in Polk County, people can be in a bubble, and it's not their fault. But there is a lot of poverty in our county, and we're here to help help to serve that and to help with those to help with that.
Fortunately, there also is a lot of money in Polk County.
That's right.
I mean, and this is what we're talking about at the bubbles. I mean, it's actually a relatively wealthy county. We actually spend more. The local government spends more to help out the schools than a lot of other counties do. It just, I'm not used to the sort of like the polarization. I mean, there's a lot of folks who have, it's tough for them to get by, and there's a lot of folks who have lots of beautiful big houses and lots of land. The Polk County Community Foundation has a very generous endowment. So is that why you're able to function? Because there actually is money here?
I have to say yes. This community does look out for its own. As I alluded to or mentioned a little bit or touched on a little bit earlier, the support that outreach receives is from folks who have just moved to this county and they're just benevolent and want to help people who live in their area. But there are also people who have grown up here and have moved away and want to continue to support their hometown, or people who outreach has helped in the past and they have done well and want to give back. This county is just full of really kind-hearted and generous souls. And because of that, outreach has been able to exist and support this community for almost 35 years and carry out the mission. I think that the fact that this organization has stood the test of time for 35 years says so much about this community, truly.
Is it okay to structure a society so that you rely on private philanthropy to make up for the gaps in the social welfare system? In other words, you're doing a job that has to be done, but should there really be another way of doing things?
Is it okay? I can't answer that. I mean,
what I'm getting at is, in this country, 1 out of 8 people need SNAP.
That's right.
How is it the richest country in the world has 1 out of every 8 people?
When I was thinking about that, like that's in my notes. Like, okay. Absolutely. Like, why are we still struggling with hunger in the wealthiest, arguably the wealthiest country in the world? Like, it just doesn't seem reasonable. It challenges me. It doesn't seem right. But from a Polk County perspective, and I think your last question was kind of around this, yeah. But we fill in. I think a grassroots effort is what we do best. I mean, here we are. We can make that work, and we can fill in the gaps here. My concern is those communities who don't have what we have here, and what do they do? How do they make it work?
And not every county has such a robust network like we do. I mean, outreach really is a remarkable organization, I think. Not everywhere has an outreach. I mean, Saluda didn't used to have a food pantry until a few years ago, right? And so it is kind of, off on the edge of the county, so it's a little harder for people to take advantage of outreach if they live on that side. I just wonder, is this sustainable? And so what I want to get at, and I'm not going to put you in a political position here, but is there something we can do outside of changing the folks in charge, changing the politicians who have basically created the system that we live in under now. Is there anything else we can do? Should we be thinking about more institutional structures, support structures at the county level, for instance?
There are absolutely conversations going on from an affordable and supportive housing perspective all across our county right now. Affordable and supportive housing is a need across our country, and I'm involved in conversations within our county with there are churches that are looking at it. There are other nonprofits that are looking at this. Outreach is clearly looking, and we're acting on this. So there are definitely conversations and some organizations that are acting on this. It's right now, I feel like it's mostly a grassroots effort. And there are foundations and different organizations that are trying to act from a food perspective. Kind of the same thing. I think what we need to, as individuals, is to educate ourselves, ask questions, don't leap to snap judgments, volunteer, get involved in your community if you aren't already, and kindness counts.
Well, I think the education point is well taken, because people need to know, for instance, that, say, shelter and food are intimately linked, because you've only got a finite amount of money. And if it's really costly to live under a roof, you have less money to spend on food. And if food is really expensive, you have trouble affording housing. And so it would seem to me that the municipalities, City, Tryon, Columbus, and Polk County as a whole, could make it easier to build affordable housing, perhaps. I mean, that's like, through zoning and minimum lot sizes and that sort of thing. My sense is that not enough attention is paid to those tools, those levers that the local governments can pull. Am I on the right track?
I think there are definitely opportunities, and I think that, again, I think that there are conversations that are starting to happen. So hopefully we're moving in the right direction.
Now we're talking, as we talk, the U.S. House is probably going to put an end to the shutdown by the end of the day, if we're lucky. But this is only going to be a temporary thing. By the end of January, we could be right back to the beginning of another shutdown.
Right.
So are you going to continue to anticipate that kind of situation?
So we are a nimble organization, and we have to be ready to react and respond to whatever needs or crisis our county faces. So we will absolutely be ready. I believe in learning from different situations. We're certainly learning a lot from this situation. 21 Meals has been I believe a success, and we've been able to feed a lot of folks, put food in the hands of a lot of people. But we will look to make improvements across that. What have we learned, and how can we do that better? So we're always looking to improve on our processes, and look to see how we can do things more efficiently and cleaner. So yes, we will be ready, and but hopefully all of that will be resolved at that level, and we won't have to put people through all this pain again.
Well, all we can do is pay attention, I guess, and cross our fingers, because locally we don't have a lot of influence on the bigger picture, right? This is a national problem that we've just suffered through. And again, you're not in a position to weigh in on the politics, but do you want to remind us again of what maybe local folks can do to be part of the solution?
Absolutely. If you, if our, well, first of all, I just have to thank Polk County residents, near and far, and our churches and businesses and our foundations for their support. And it is just an amazing place to be, and an amazing place to live. But for those who want to get involved, not only in outreach, there are a lot of great organizations and organizations and nonprofits in our community. But to get involved, to volunteer, to share your time, and to educate yourself on what's going on in our community, the number of folks who could use our help, and the level of poverty that really does exist here in Polk County.
Well, that's really why I'm here talking to you. I'll put a link to your website in the show notes, but you're not hard to find, right?
Right.
So let's hope that if we are in another government shutdown time, and again, the federal government is deciding not to load people's EBT cards up, that at least people will be a little more prepared for it. So thanks so much for finding the time. I'll let you get back to dealing with the challenge of helping people feed themselves.
Thank you so much for having me today.
After our talk, Margot insisted on giving me a tour of the most recent addition to the little village of rental homes Outreach has been building for the past few years. It's impressive. I don't know what affordable homes are supposed to look like, but these are definitely not that. It's a shame that the free market we've based our society on isn't up to the task of making it possible for every police officer, firefighter, teacher, and social worker to afford to live in the community they serve. But at least Polk County has Outreach, and Share Thy Bread, and the Saluda Pantry, and all the other organizations that are filling the gaps. I just wish they didn't need to exist. You can forward your feedback and suggestions for future episodes to jamesh@polklore.com. Thanks for listening.